I'm Lysandra, and this channel is called Grace and Grief. I created this channel to document the grief process that I'm going through. My husband, Kenneth, passed away on October 18th, and we have been married for 13 years, and we have been friends for 20 years. So he passed away unexpectedly. Still processing through this. I'm about 16 weeks post-loss, and am studying a lot about grief, watching videos on YouTube, reading books, and I wanted to talk openly about my process and share what I'm learning and where I'm at. I'm hoping that someone else watching these videos can just be encouraged, somehow be blessed, and learn along with me, whether or not someone is experiencing loss or supporting another person that has experienced loss. I thought I would do a review of the NBC show This Is Us, Season 2, Episode 14. That episode is called Super Bowl Sunday, and they reveal in this episode how Jack passes away. And honestly, I haven't watched a lot of TV since my husband passed away. I haven't had the time, I haven't had the energy. I particularly avoided this show because the show centers around the grief process of this family. And although the current time is 20 years post-loss, this family is still very much grieving the loss, especially the children are grieving the loss of their father. Someone mentioned to me last week that they were going to reveal how Jack passed away in this episode, and I was going to try to binge watch the entire season. I didn't get the time to do that, but I just felt like I want to see it. I watched the show and I wanted to give a review about this episode from a widow's perspective, and I'm hoping that other people that are going through loss, thinking about loss, can kind of identify the scene where Rebecca finds out that Jack has passed away. She's in the hospital and the doctor comes out and she just bought a candy bar. And so she's about to open a candy bar and the doctor comes out and lets her know that Jack, he had a heart attack and that he went into cardiac arrest and they lost him. And she just goes into disbelief. She doesn't believe it because she was just with him and she was just talking to him and she was just laughing with him and he was doing well. And so it made me think about the 5 stages of grief, which are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And it was almost as if we saw Rebecca go from denial into anger and then into bargaining, depression, and acceptance, all within a few scenes. She doesn't believe it, then she gets angry. By the time she gets to the house and has to tell the kids, it looks like she's coming to a place of acceptance. And I could just really relate to this scene because I remember my husband and I were here with his family the day he passed away, and I went to be with the Lord, and yeah, we didn't see that coming. Somebody handed me the phone at one point and said, call 911. The last person I thought that they were asking me to call 911 for was my husband. You just don't believe it. You just feel like this cannot be real. This cannot be true. And especially because it's unexpected and so sudden, it's just hard to process it. Even days after, it was still like, is he gonna come through the front door? You know, I remember bargaining, like, Lord, can you just bring my husband back? It's a week later. I'm like, can you just bring my husband back right now? Another scene that I could really relate to was when Rebecca had to tell her children. She sees Miguel outside and she tells him, she basically tells him, I have to go in there and ruin my children's lives. So if you cannot pull your emotions together, you know, take a walk. but you have to be strong right now. Completely identified with that. And I talked to a friend of mine afterward, and she watched the show, and she was here when I told my children, and she was telling me, like, this is exactly how you were. Because I think as a surviving parent, I didn't want to tell them that their father had went to be with the Lord and was never coming back. And this, knowing how shocking this would be and how traumatic this was about to be, I didn't want to give that news until I was at a place where I knew I could give it from a position of faith and from a position of strength. People that were here, I told them, this is basically not a time for us to have our moment, their time, and we're here to comfort them, and we're here to give this news and then just comfort them, hold them, let them cry it out, whatever they need to do, but this is not our time. And so I could completely relate to her, telling Miguel, just if you have to take a walk around the block, whatever you got to do, that's fine. And I think that she understood that moment was going to set the tone for the way that they processed their father's death for the rest of their lives. Another scene that really hit close to home for me was when Rebecca tells Kevin that after the doctor told her that Jack died, she was unwrapping her candy bar and she takes a bite of the candy bar. It's 20 years later. She says, every time I think about that night, that's the first thing that pops out. That's the thing that stands out to me, was how I bit that candy bar. I have the same thing. And one of the things was that he passed away the day we had his grandmother's funeral. And oh my goodness, he had been crying so much after his grandmother passed away. He had been weeping bitterly, and I had been holding him, and he had been crying, and I had been holding him and hugging him and kissing him. But when we were at the burial, he broke down. I was holding his hand, but I didn't embrace him. And honestly, my husband, he was not a big public crier, and I almost felt like, does he want me to do that? Maybe he doesn't want me to do that because he's not even really I don't want to make a scene, and I don't want to do something to make him feel uncomfortable. I didn't know. And so I was holding his arm, I was holding his hand, but I was kind of wrestling within myself about what exactly does he need from me right now to comfort him. After he passed away, I just would break down because I felt like I should have hugged him at the burial site. And I kept replaying, like, why didn't I do that? I should have hugged him. I should have held him. But I don't even know if that's true. I don't even know if that's what I should have did. I think that that's probably a common experience with grief. I think somehow in our spirit or in our mind, we just hold on to something to feel like bad about. I think the writers did a great job with how they showed that each child was experiencing grief and dealing with the anniversary of their father's death in a different way. And there's a scene where Randall tells his wife, Kate wallows, Kevin avoids, but this was my dad's favorite day, so I celebrate him. He says that's how Randall rolls. And I love that because I'm finding that everyone grieves differently. Valentine's Day is coming up, and I had been thinking a lot about what I was going to do because I've been celebrating Valentine's Day with my husband for 13 years. I just could not fathom sitting in the house and wallowing or trying to avoid the fact that it was Valentine's Day and he's not here, when just last year we were, on a day date at a nice restaurant. I have always wanted to go to New York on Valentine's Day. When I shared the idea with some other friends of mine that are widows, before I could even get the idea out, were telling me, do it, go, because really this is what you need to do. You need to do the things that make you happy. Don't go into the self-pity. Don't go into a pity party. And so I'm going to celebrate like Randall on Valentine's Day. I'm going to be celebrating love, love of God, celebrating the love that between me and my man, although he's in heaven, and to vlog my experience there, and just go have a good time. And even that's hard, I have to give myself permission. It's okay to enjoy your life. It's okay to live. And my goal is to live and not just exist. If you watched This Is Us and you saw the episode and you had any reflections, please feel free to put them in the comment section. Also, thank you to everyone that has subscribed to the channel. Please subscribe below by hitting the subscribe button, or share this video or any of my other videos with someone else who you know may be in a grief process or has experienced. I want to use these videos as a way to just honor the legacy of my husband and the testimony of what God did with bringing him and I together, and blessing us and blessing our
So I didn't write anything down. I'm not the most organized man. I did have something to tell. And my thoughts are just to tell you why I love you. Okay, so I've been loving you for a long time. I loved you before you loved me. When I think about the first time I knew, I think that was freshman year high school. You know, when we first were interacting with each other as 14, 15-year-olds. I felt sure then. I felt like if this girl ever flinched and she want to be with me, this is a wrap. You know, and I just want to let you know, I still feel that. I felt when we were in high school. I feel like, who is that next time? I know you're real ladies, but I feel the exact same way. You know, I love you because you are a tireless mother to my 4 children. I've seen how you have worked hard, how you have sweated, how you have gave up everything, literally blood, sweat, and tears, to make sure our children are well taken care of. I love the way you're willing to change so easily when you see I need something different or I need something new. I love that. I love how you have been a blessing to my family, to my mom, my grandma. I love that about you. I love that you are so ambitious and that you are getting ready to take the world. I love your destiny. It's big, it's great. You're going to be something awesome. And I'm so happy to be a part of it. And there's so many reasons why I love you. I just want you to know that I love you from a place of my will. This is where I want to be. I don't want to be anywhere else. I love you with all my emotions. I feel the same way I felt when we recorded, walking around the north side, holding hands at night. I love you like that, like we were in front of the library and we held hands for the first time. That feeling that we felt, I still get that.